Welcome back here, folks. We are one match down, 3 to go. Tom Battinger here, Justin McClanahan, Ryan Bailey, J-Mac, Aggro. We're ready to rock here. Nocturnes just fall down to CLG. Unfortunately, we'll be saying goodbye to them. Let's take a look at some of the other teams that we're going to be seeing through the remainder of the tournament.
Trifecta and SK will be our next matchup, and loser goes home. We're losing an SPL team here today, potentially two, with Illuminosity going up against Armada later on as well.
But is it going to be the North American or the European side who's going to be taking the L this time around? Last matchup that we had for NAEU, it went in EU's favor. We also had one where NA got it. SSG getting their victory over SK would send them down here. Now we get to see what SK is made up against Trifecta.
Insignum no ping, Luminosity and Armada will happen a little bit later. Insignum actually on the upswing. Kind of interesting to watch them go and do their thing. But so far, Trifecta, these guys have looked pretty strong. They've been kind of riding the wave of Paul, but veteran Zapman is definitely a big part of this team. Let's see what he's got to say before they take the battlefield.
All right, I'm here with Zapman, obviously our hunter for Trifecta. Everyone loves to get a chance to hear from you. First of all, now that y'all are down here on this, the lower bracket where every game it feels like is elimination, has the team's mindset changed at all, or is it just business as usual?
Well, we definitely feel like we underperformed against Insignum. They caught us by surprise with a couple of things. Basically, our mindset after that was to reevaluate what we were doing and to make sure that we're playing up to our standards that we've been working and scrimming so hard to, reach up to, and hopefully we can show it here.
Well, you guys also had, from at least other teams, other players, they had really high expectations for you, and they kept saying it. Did that kind of weigh on you guys at all, or did y'all just not pay any attention to that?
No, we don't really pay attention to that kind of stuff. We kind of called it Monday scrims because, we do all these good things throughout the week, and then, we take the weekend off, and then we forget everything on Monday. So that's kind of like what happened with Insignum. We forgot a couple of picks, a couple counters, and a couple other things that really cost us dearly.
Well, y'all don't have to tell me too much, but what kind of stuff have you been doing for this SK team in particular? Because, they've been around so long. Even if you haven't played them, you probably know a lot about them. Just what can you tell me about how y'all feel about this match in particular?
Yeah, we respect all the guys on SK. I've known Lawbster since closed beta. I wanted a team with him, and he told me he was from EU, and I was like, I'm about to move so I can team with you. But honestly, they're all really good guys, and they're really good players, so we prepped hard for them and ready to go.
Well, it's been a good tournament so far. We want y'all to keep going. Hopefully we get to see more of y'all. So good luck here in this match, and thanks for talking with me here as well.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot there, John Finch. Fantastic interview with Zapman. Trifecta seem confident.
They do, and Zap's definitely right that he's been around long enough to know Lawbster and Funballer and all those dudes pretty well and the way they like to play the game. And I really think that Paul should be licking his lips at this matchup. This is a game where I think Paul can really boost the KDA a bit.
And not only that, all of these players on this Trifecta squad have been around the Smite scene for a while, whether it's at the top end or the bottom end. They've been watching. I've been watching Lawbster ever since he first started back all the way in Season 0. These are some players who have been around for a very long time in the scene.
Zapman certainly has been able to watch them, whether it's play against them quite literally or just be able to kind of watch from home. SK doing a lot of that lately. Regular season not too thrilling for SK and their fans. 1 and 29, so 1 win out of 30 matches that they played during the regular season. Not the best of slash lines as far as wins and losses are concerned, but still people very confident in this squad. If you're taking a look at Twitter, big analysts, big fans, people all around, they're betting on SK.
I want to make bets with them because that's where you can make some money, apparently. I don't know. You can't go, for me, you can't go 1 and 29 during a regular season and expect to have any one vote of confidence in you when it comes to postseason.
Isn't there a giant change as far as LAN is concerned?
No, it's still the same 5 players that lost 29 out of 30 matches.
Not all those players lost 29 out of 30 matches. Halfdevil joined late in the season. He's one of my favorite players to talk to. John Finch has the pleasure of doing just that.
All right, I'm here with Halfdevil for SK. You all seem to be in good spirits, even though you're all down here in the lower bracket. Is the team environment and atmosphere, everybody still feeling good?
You could say so, yeah. I think that what happened in the SSG set does not show our real skill level or how we are supposed to perform. And hopefully that won't happen today.
Well, I couldn't help but notice, you all are doing like the pajama bottom things today here. Is that like a thing as a team to keep the atmosphere up? What's that all about?
We felt like we were missing some synergy. We thought that might boost it up a little bit.
Right, so you're matching with the jerseys up top, and then now you're matching with the pajama bottoms downstairs.
Exactly.
Okay, well, y'all don't have to give us anything too specific, like, you know, that'll give away for your gameplay, but what kind of prep have y'all done for a Trifecta that makes y'all feel good about this set?
Do not choke, basically. It's less, because I feel like it's less of what we play and more how we play. So as long as we play our game and do our stuff, we should be all right.
And I was just talking to Trifecta, you know, they said, you know, this is a team full of people that have been around for a long time. They feel like they know them. I mean, are there some players on that side y'all feel the same way about, like, you know, like Zap, who's been around forever, that you feel like that might even help in this match too?
I don't feel like habits of old players or that been around for a long time would really matter. I feel like that all that we need is really just do our own, and we should, or hopefully we can come out on top.
Well, that's what's important. Make sure y'all play your game. Again, thanks for talking with me. Good luck in y'all's match here coming up again. And again, thanks for taking some time.
Good talk to Halfdevil right there, John Finch. Love the pants. What John left out is that he has got matching pants, actually.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Finch does?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that, actually.
He's wearing them right now.
Oh, he is?
I'm lying. But Anatoly actually does have matching
Yeah,
pants.
I could see that. Yeah.
He does.
Now, the thing to remember is that not everyone on SK is wearing the same pants. No. They're very different. Some I think Faeles had donuts on his pants. Funballer had just some squiggly stuff.
No, they're unicorns. We have a
Just
picture.
unicorn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have a picture. I'm gonna try and get it in between game 1 and game 2, so we can show you guys the camaraderie that SK are bringing, and they're going to need it. Trifecta, as we said, on the up and up. Paul has looked really smoking. I have said in no uncertain terms, I think he's the future of the Smite Pro League. I think Paul is going to be one of the stronger players as seasons continue to go on. So SK Gaming, they've got a tall task in front of them. Ducky and Faeles have to perform.
Much like another Paul, he's the truth. I mean, this man's the real deal in the mid lane. There's no doubt about it. But just the ability of Trifecta to play around him, just because Paul's a really, really good player, doesn't mean he's going to carry every single game. That's not how Smite works. It's a team game. You need to be able to do what you need to do as a team, not just as an individual. And I think that Paul has what it takes to be a star player, but it doesn't mean he's just going to go 10-0 every game.
I think that's the big thing, is that it's the catch-all phrase, one player does not a team make here. While Paul is a fantastic superstar in his own right, he does have the rest of his team to back him up here. Sam for Soccer came out and had a pretty decent showing on the Erlong Shen the few times that we got to see with him. But really, for me, I'm also looking at this dual lane of Trifecta to really step up here against Halfdevil and Funball. And at the same time, I think really the dual lane is where a lot of the make or break will be for both of these teams.
I see where you're going. I'm still stuck here in the mid lane. Paul, like we said, is the focal point of this team. The other players on the squad are going to have to kind of step up to support him. But Lawbster across the way. Lawbster is one of the players that is interesting. I think that he's definitely not the guy that he used to be. He's not the standout player, the absolute top of the league, but I think he still stands on his own two legs. And Lawbster doesn't really get soloed that often. He'll get ganked, but as far as the Paul-Lawbster matchup, that might be a safe spot for SK Gaming. P's and B's, pretty please. Game number 1 on the way for SK versus a Trifecta. And as far as the Trifecta squad is concerned, where do you expect them to go? Any oddball picks here, Aggro?
No, nothing odd about Sam trying to get Erlong Shen first overall. That's going to be the game plan. I think that the Trifecta, the weirdest thing that we'll see from them, maybe Scary will play something a little bit off-kilter in the solo lane. Maybe Neil will take Kuzenbo's support or something like that, but it's not going to be anything too crazy. I think Trifecta should just try and stay in their lane, do what they do well, which is heavy CC compositions that allow Paul and Zapman to do the big damage.
Exactly. I really expect to see that support player come out here. NeiruMah, I think, is going to make a lot of noise, whether he's playing the Kuzenbo or something weird or just sticking to the traditional. Let's transition into the picks and bans. Trifecta with the first option here. Aggro says that they're going to try and get their Erlong Shen. Do you agree?
100%. Erlong Shen has been one of those top picks all weekend long, and he has really been performing well at the same time. On these top-level teams, we've really got to see the Erlong shine.
This has got to be an Erlong ban from SK. Maybe not here, but in the top 2. I think that's going to be really important that they take that away, and indeed that will be their first ban away. Let Trifecta have anything besides the Erlong, as far as I'm concerned. Or the Freya. They also have to ban Freya from Paul.
Erlong, one of the few characters that has 100% pick ban rate here. Erlong and Merc, the only one there. I'm looking at Odin. 89% coming into today as far as his pick ban rate is concerned. This guy has really dictated a lot of the P's and B's, Ryan. What is it about the Ringmaster that's making him so popular?
I don't know if it's so much about what's really good about Odin, but what's so good about a lot of other characters in the game right now that Odin really excels against. He's great against Erlong, he's great against Mercury, he's great against Pele, he's great against Terra. I mean, these are picks that are really, really prevalent in the meta right now, and it just makes it so you don't have to worry about getting counterpicked by going for something like Erlong in that first slot.
That's truly a meta selection there, if you will.
I mean, if I'm looking at the top 10 to 15 gods that have been picked up all week long, Odin has a very strong matchup against almost every single one of those, and that's why we've been seeing him so often here. And Terra being banned away too, she's also one of those top ones, only hasn't been shown up one time so far this week.
Trifecta, they do have Freya available if they want to pick it. SK have banned out the Merc and the Arlong, and Freya going to be selected. Maybe Zapman, definitely Paul, I think is going to be piloting that. Flexible, though, if you will. SK Gaming here, 2 choices.
Zapman may want to play the Freya, but he's not getting the chance. Paul is getting this Freya.
Is there a world where SK have a matchup in the middle lane that makes Paul not want to play Freya?
No, I don't think there's a universe where Paul doesn't take this Freya into the mid lane. This has been a signature pick of his. I mean, I was playing against it in Season 2 on Xbox, and when no one else was playing this pick. The dude just loves Freya.
How'd you do?
Very well. My record against Paul is actually very good.
Really?
He's gotten a lot better since then. I have gotten a lot worse since then.
I figured as much. But your buddy Aggression, on the other hand.
Free for him.
Athena and Chiron selected here by SK. Love the selection of those two together. We've really talked a lot this LAN about the interaction of the cleanse and how he's become kind of a hard counter to Athena, bringing them both in here, whether Chiron's in the mid lane or the carry position. SK have kind of negated the negation of Athena right there. Trifecta, thinking about the Ratman. Certainly a good character for Sam for soccer.
It's a bit of a throwback for Sam there. He's been playing a lot of those really mobile assassins, Susano, Ratatosker, Thor, really ones that he likes to go back to, but they're not going to look at it immediately, and I like that they're looking at the Jing way. I'm not the biggest fan of it for Zapman on Jing way, but taking the option away because she's really the go-to after Freya has been picked up.
The Cerberus makes me a little bit nervous for one reason. I really like it for the other. It makes me a little bit nervous because against Chiron cleanse is really, really good against Stygian Torment. It's good against big telegraphed CCs you have plenty of time to react to. Stygian Torment certainly fits that bill. So Chiron can definitely cleanse that out, but I love it in conjunction with Freya because Freya is a character that doesn't want to build that much penetration. She needs too many other stats. She needs power, she needs mana, she needs attack speed, cooldown, whatever. She needs too many things. So penetration can be hard to fit in the build. Ghastly Breath covers up on that weakness, and for that reason I like it.
One dog for another. Fenrir picked up here for SK, and we've been seeing a lot of support Fenrir recently. A little bit of jungle, and I think we saw him once into the solo lane here, so still some flexibility for SK. Not a hard lock into any role just yet for any of these gods locked in.
Fenrir, one of the characters that has really risen to prominence here at this LAN. If I'm looking at the selection, if you guys haven't watched the regular season, a lot of what we're seeing here is very similar to the regular season, the fall split, with the 2 exceptions, I think, the rise of Chiron and Fenrir. These really are the characters that have kind of stepped up here this week, and SK have both of them. Is that a good thing that they're latching on to the meta here at LAN, or is that kind of troublesome that they're just looking for whatever new hot flavor?
No, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, Fenrir is a pick that SK has been having in their pocket for a while at this point. We saw Ducky play it solo for SK earlier. That's something that he's definitely played a decent amount of in his career, and that's where I anticipate this Fenrir to go until we see otherwise, because Ducky's probably just looking to do what Fenrir solo does, which is poke you out, play aggressive, and then whenever he starts to lose that lane clear, and oh no, I'm on my tower line, that's when Ragnarok comes out and brings you underneath that tower.
Audio ban kind of solidifies the fact that I think we're going to see Fenrir in that solo lane. Audio kind of stops what Fenrir wants to do, whether it's Brutalize or the Unchained jump, of course. So I think that the banning of Audio kind of tipping the hand of what SK Gaming are trying to do. Second man from them is going to be Pele. Trifecta still have their jungle position open as Freya's going to find her way into the hands of Paul. Far is it from the world where Freya once was a jungler. And Trifecta's 2 bans here in the second phase going to be the Raijin. Don't want to see that in the hands of Lawbster. No Drum. And the last ban here from Trifecta, we're getting down to the wire. You got to think of maybe a mid lane, maybe a hunter. Chiron still showing that flexibility, and I think that's why Trifecta is thinking so much here.
I think the Ryzen is just a safe ban. He can apply a lot of pressure and also does have a great matchup into Freya just because of how well he can push the lane in the early stages. Freya known, pop 2, pop 1, the lane is gone. Raijin, kind of a similar story there. He also does have a lot of safety and a little bit of crowd control with that ultimate.
I'm thinking that a Discordia would be a pretty decent ban. If SK is willing to put Chiron mid, Fenrir solo, and then another physical hunter, then I feel pretty good about that if I'm Trifecta.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried about that potentially. Maybe I'm worried about double hunter, Fenrir jungle. That could be a bit scary, but even then, anti-auto attack items would be very valuable against that team composition. If they don't go mid, then so they go for the Circuit ban, just covering their bases in case that is Fenrir in solo or support.
There is the lurking idea, as the Morrigan selected, might most likely be the middle lane. I was going to bring up if they do go double hunter, Fenrir in the solo, there's that lurking idea of the Hopwa jungle, right? That is something that we saw earlier in the year that I think is still effective, especially against a Freya, character that you can just delete Freya before she really gets off to doing what she wants to do with the knockup. But I think the Morrigan kind of stops that in its tracks, and Trifecta thinking about the Chang'e. Certainly so what Fine OK was able to do with it early on. Freya mid, Cerberus a little bit of a flex, Jingwei likely to be the carry role. And so Nemesis and Chang'e would be the jungle and solo lane respectively. And this looks like a clean little draft here from Trifecta. I enjoy the power levels across the board.
I don't know how much I love a Nemesis pick here because Sam has been playing Erlong Shen as this early pressure god that CCs and sets up really well, and Nemesis doesn't really fit that. For me, I think I would have much rather seen the Ratatosker that he was hovering earlier on.
Oh, this is something that the SK guys were talking about. Faeles wants to play this Kali. Whether he's allowed to is a different story. This is interesting. J-Mac, if he plays the Kali, is this the comp you play it into?
This is probably one of the better comps to go up against it, though it is still a difficult matchup. Chang'e has the immunity frames, can get rid of the stun, Freya can whoop you up, and then you have to burn those purification beads to chase. It's a rough one, but this isn't the worst composition to go into it. She is one of those late game hyper carries, much like the Mercury.
Can be really good, but I don't know, man. Do you really want to take this into the late game up against Freya, Chang'e, Nemesis, 3 really good late game gods of their own right? None of them match Kali's prowess, but still. Now, I will say that the Morrigan transforming into Kali can be really, really potent.
Double Kali.
You get another opportunity to get another late game insane assassin in the later stages, but it can be difficult in order to make that work at the same time, so we'll have to wait and see.
Hunbat's a little bit more traditional, and one of Faeles' characters more dependable. And I think that was the question that SK had. They took a while to really figure that last one out. And I think that's really what the conversation was the fact that, look, we've won a single split or a single match during the entire year, and Hunbat's was what won that match for SK. Faeles, I think of Hunbat's, and I think of Naja. That's basically it. So I want to see the Hunbats. This is exciting. I think the Kali will likely come out game 2, win or lose for SK in all honesty. But here we get to see the Hunbats, a little bit more control, and all these characters I think kind of get trounced by the Jungle Monkey.
Well, it's really good pick with the composition that SK has because they've got other beads burners on their team. Fenrir, Athena will kill you if you don't have beads. Hunbats will also kill you if you don't have beads. Plus, getting the double Hunbats all with the Morrigan is a pretty good combo.
I think that's the big thing is they were really lacking the big team fight crowd control, and Hunbats is really going to offer that, especially coupled with the Morrigan. It's just a telltale story of Morrigan, Hunbats, Morrigan, Ratatosker, things like that. Having a double Fear No Evil when your beads are down, you're not getting away from that.
That's a big point. I absolutely think the double totem is going to be one of the things that help SK win this game if they do such a thing. The Morrigan has been fantastic. We'll get a chance to see Lawbster play on it. Commentators are standing by, though. SK Gaming, the Europeans, versus Trifecta, the North Americans. It's a cross-ocean match right here in Alpharetta.
Thanks so much, Analyst Desk. Yes, Trifecta versus SK. The bottom of North American SPL versus the bottom of NASPL. A big match, Taco, especially when Insignum have already defeated Trifecta earlier this tournament.
It feels like Insignum kind of just set the bar for the rest of this I don't even want to look at this set in specific, but mostly for the entire tournament for placement rounds, I think that a lot of teams are kind of coming to the realization that Europe is not here to mess around, and I think even this SK Gaming team, I love Zap's interview for Trifecta admitting to having put a lot of prep into this one, because I don't think SK is a team you can take lightly here at LAN.
Can't take lightly, but the results speak for themselves. They've not found form, and that's really cost SK big throughout the entirety of the year. But now it is do or die for this team, quite literally. This best of 3, the loser is going home, and they'll be going home quick.
Fails on this Batz also. I like that little bit that Tom brought up on the analyst desk, mentioning that this is one of the few guys that SK has had the opportunity to close out a match win before, and hoping for the repeat here today. I am glad it wasn't the Kali that ended up going through. I can't even begin to imagine the horror that Faeles would have faced into this Trifecta comp.
But look at this, it's Morrigan in the duo lane in the Hunter role for Funballer. Lawbster will be taking the Chiron to the mid lane instead. This is going to be a bit of a turn up for the Bucks here. The damage is good on Zap early on. The beads instantly, after seeing the horrific emblem, I believe, was used there straight away from that Fenrir support.
Good aggression right now from Halfdevil, and Funballer will be able to clear out the waves before Zapman and NeiruMah, but Cerberus can be a little bit more fickle when you're trying to look for those early first blood kills. Without that horrific, I think Halfdevil's going to have a tough time locking down Zapman.
Definitely unconventional duo lane. This is something that I guess SK are trying to throw caution to the wind a little bit, but NeiruMah Cerberus is something that if he smells anything, he seems to like to go back to this Cerberus. If he smells any sort of weirdness, I've seen him default to Cerberus a couple of times so far because of it.
Cerberus is just good for heavy interruptions, and especially against the Fenrir and the support role, I think that this might be a tricky one for Halfdevil to continue playing out.
Oh.
Fails though with the first blood onto Paul in the mid lane, but all that thought because Purple Buff still being aggressed into by SK Gaming. Halfdevil and Funballer really didn't want to let that one go for free.
But they're going to be careful because Samfasok is now making a rotation on the Nemesis at level 2. Funballer has the beads to get away from the slow from Samfasok, but Samfasok has the speed buff, and the run is on for Funballer to get away. Sam gets a kill in response. 1 for 1, but this overextension, here comes Faeles.
Not only that, Lawbster actually starting to wrap his way up from the very bottom side of the flank. Faeles will end up picking up Zapman. I thought that Lawbster was going to end up joining him also, so it's been a solid 1-for-1 exchange so far in SK's favor, at least in that duo lane. It does go a little bit against them, though, to lose that purple buff. No, actually, they confirmed their own purple buff.
Yeah, that was their own purple buff. Let's have a look back, though, at the respawn first blood in the mid lane. We didn't get to see how Faeles happened, got that kill. But take a little look here. It's Paul at level 2 on the Freya. Probably no whoop at this moment in time. Monkey bounce, monkey see, monkey kill. That's pretty much what happened.
That looked really unfortunate, though. A little bit of miscommunication there, it seems, between Sam for Soccer and Paul. Sam started breaking away to look for a buff invade, or to look for clearing his own red buff, and I don't think Paul ever got the memo. He was still trying to play aggressive.
Faeles taking monkey toss at level 2 there. Is that a natural thing you do for wave clear instead of the somersault for safety?
It's a risk versus reward situation. You can get a little bit more poke in wave clear. I think it's kind of traditional nowadays for a lot of bots junglers to go for the monkey toss, just because you want that extra little bit of damage to find those level 2 kills.
I guess safer wave clear as well in the grand scheme of things, but it was definitely fortuitous for SK Gaming. And now Faeles has got himself 2 kills because of the follow-up kill onto Zapman after that little skirmish too. So all eyes will be on the Batz as this game continues now about what impact he can make.
We've all been asking for standout moments from Faeles. He's had such promising I think games, but they ended up always falling short. And now here that he's off to a great start with the Batz, this could be his chance.
Well, that's kind of the story of SK's life. Halfdevil overextended. I'm sick of saying that now and again. Meanwhile, it's getting a bit of free farm for Funballer, but Halfdevil is going to die here. Ultimate coming out of Ducky to try and keep the support alive. That's not going to help out, but now Faeles is going to punish Zapman and the whole team of Trifecta. Lawbster involved too. Faeles gets a double kill, looking for a third.
Faeles is not ready to let go of Sam for Soccer just yet, but he's going to be forced to, realizing that this purple buff farm may be a little bit more important, and Sam just has to watch throughout the ward, but that's not going to do much of anything other than let him know exactly when he got taken.
Sam hung around in the fight, trying to duke it out with Funballer. Didn't realize Faeles was still hanging around, and that is an awkward position. Talk about awkward position. Lawbster has the beads away from Paul.
A nice masterful shot that was going to slow Paul down enough, and without the banish, Halfdevil won't connect with his Unchained, so the jump stun isn't going to be there. But it's the fact that Lawbster manages to survive.
I think the biggest thing, though, is actually Halfdevil just being there, Taco. Because if Halfdevil doesn't show his face, I think Paul could get the kill with his ultimate.
Paul would have probably pursued that. I think that that's also a sign of Paul's player discipline and his development over the Season 5 competitive play, because I think when Paul first came into comp play, he would have undoubtedly looked to try and finish that kill off and not cared if he ended up trading out his life for it. Instead, realizing that he already has a slight experience lead over Lawbster, who just ticked in at level 6, he'd rather hold on to that.
Season beyond his years, I guess, is what we're saying about Paul realistically. You don't expect him to make those calls correctly most of the time. Halfdevil under pressure again in the jungle, contesting those left-hand harpies. He'll survive for now. Both hunters, however, or at least the duo lane players, let's call it that, considering there's a Morrigan there, now at level 5, both working towards their builds.
This isn't too well suited, though, for Funballer. I think that as far as Poke is concerned, he can definitely get the upper hand over Zapman, but Zap is just so incredibly safe on this Chang'e.
Here comes Faeles now to this right-hand side, looking for a pick on Scary D. Scary D manages to get some damage off. Faeles is going to die for that kill, actually, and that's pretty big for Scary D because he gets a shutdown bonus.
Not really worth it for Faeles in the long term of things, because when you are already 4-0, that 5th kill isn't going to make that much of a difference, but it will allow Sam for Soccer to catch up. And by the way, Sam isn't doing too shabby himself. He might be level 6, but he's got 2 kills to his name.
It's very good to see how this jungle matchup is going to go, because Sam for Soccer and Faeles have been spoken about a lot just lately. Left-hand side, Halfdevil leading Funballer in for a pick towards NeiruMah, who leaps away after Halfdevil leap for the stun application. 5-3, though. Very kill-heavy already.
Seemed as though Halfdevil wanted to use the Ragnarok onto NeiruMah, who hadn't hit level 5 just yet, but thought better of it once the autos from Zapman started connecting.
Now with the state of the game now, Paul going to pick up that red buff. He's got the full Bancroft's talent here. No Book of Toss Rush. It makes sense on Freya for the most part because of her passive and the fact she gets sustained there anyway.
He just wants to self-sustain, adds in a little bit more survivability, and it's the damage also. But there are some concerns for his mana sustain. I think that Paul might start feeling the repercussions of not having nearly as much mana in comparison to Lawbster, who's got the Hunter's Blessing to help provide him with the ability to safely clear in mid lane.
Yeah, don't mind the idea of the sustain with that Bancroft either, just because he's up against the Chiron, and both of them kind of matching sustain a little bit more so. The herbal medicine out of Chiron does provide a bit. But on the right-hand side, here comes Faeles again. Fear No Evil connects on Sam for Soccer, who uses the beads. Waxing mood out of Scary D caused a lot of problems for Faeles, who is now going to fall down. This engagement was started by SK, and Faeles didn't have any beads, knowing he was against a Waxing Moon.
Just too soon. Faeles drops the Fear No Evil to start the fight. He should have at least waited for Sam for Soccer and Scary D to start expending some of their cooldowns before dropping that one right away, or just look to secure the buff and then get out of there immediately. Taking up the fight this early on, typically not going to go in your favor. Ducky doesn't really have a whole lot to back you up with there.
Not at that moment in time, that's the case. And on top of that, they will lose the blue buff on the right-hand side to Trifecta now. Gold has started to even up. The first blood gold that SK got has been nullified. Experience is nothing to talk about just yet. As now the right and Harpy's being looked at. NeiruMah the only one really in the area. Just get one though, 1 for 1. Not so bad for NeiruMah, who's one of the lowest farming and leveling supports in the entire leagues.
This is a pretty big break, though, for Trifecta, because after that first death for Faeles, it feels like this game has come to a little bit of a halt now, and Trifecta are being given some opportunities to just regroup, go and focus on their farm, prioritize securing their buffs, and slow down the momentum that this monkey was starting to have.
It's all about the junglers, I will say. The mid laners may come into the fray sooner rather than later, but here's a fight around the red buff. In goes Halfdevil, who doesn't manage to find the stun again. NeiruMah just a little bit too quick for Halfdevil there. Red buff already dropped going to Trifecta. They can't pick it up just yet, though, because SK's still lurking, trying to cause a problem.
Zapman wants his red buff too much to let it go. It will cost him his ultimate in the end, though. Airstrike just to keep him safe, but I don't fault Zapman for wanting to ult out of there immediately. Was it worth the red buff? Probably not, but I think for right now, he's probably still not going to really regret his actions.
We'll see how it works out for him. He gets punished for it. Lawbster banished into the air, and the burst after the fact was solid from both Freya and, of course, that Cerberus. The Lawbster was forced to use the beads immediately after. So now, again, Lawbster's going to be very careful.
Paul was able to pull out, or Halfdevil, excuse me, was able to pull out Paul's purification beads, but I was about to ask at what cost. I thought for sure that NeiruMah and Paul were about to turn and burn on him. Stingent Torment, though, having not been expended, will mean that Halfdevil stays safe and sound.
A lot of action on this map. These comms should be going crazy, but I'm looking at the players, and they're all very calm so far on the player cams. As Samfasaka now lurking for the blue buff again. Scary's a little bit low on mana here, but he does have a blue buff around his waist, and just the presence enough seems to be forcing Ducky and Faeles to back away in their own jungle.
All Scary needs is the threat of the waxing moon. Faeles was stunned for so long the last time that connected. And you just have to be super careful whenever you are approaching a Chang'e, because the second that you stack on another teammate, you are going to most likely end up getting caught out with the waxing moon.
Nice little dash there from Zapman. He just heard Funballer in that stealth going for the stun option on the Morrigan, so skirts away nicely. So far, though, all the kills on these two junglers. Level 10 now for Samfasaka, who's slowly but surely having a better time of things, even though Faeles got off to such a big start.
Patience is a virtue, and Trifecta are just biding their time. As far as mid to late game teamfight engagements are concerned, I think Trifecta almost definitely have the upper hand here. SK Gaming, without a true front line, I think are really going to start to suffer as the game evolves, because Halfdevil on this Fenrir, we've seen a lot of attempts towards some of these jump stuns, but a lot of them have either failed to connect just from outright misses, or it's just a great escape reaction timers from Trifecta, and that's part of the problem with land.
Too telegraphed. That's the biggest thing, and you give the game away so quickly on Fenrir. When you start running towards someone, they're like, okay, well, I guess you're going to go aggressive. What's your primary use here to try and get aggressive? You're going to leap on me, right? So if I can guess roughly when it's going to be, I'll be safe. Talking about someone who might not be safe here is Samfasaka. His speed buff is being contested by Ducky. But with Paul being in the area and 4 men now grouping up, looking for a pick, Sam has seen it. He should be okay to get away. Halfdevil does find the leap, looks at Paul. Paul immediately ults in response.
Halfdevil forced a Ragnarok away instead, but Zapman's going to come through. Nice setup off of Scary D's Waxing Moon. Samfasaka not done yet, though. Will get taunted back in, but the huge Fear No Evil on the backside. Faeles is going to get 2.
NeiruMah still has his ultimate. Doesn't really find a target he was after. He will pick up Ducky, though, and slow him down. Scary D takes down Funballer. And this was SK going aggressive around Trifecta's speed buff. It was telegraphed, it was spotted, and Trifecta responded the only way they could.
Where did all these Trifecta members just come from, by the way? I could have sworn I only saw 2 of them, and the next thing you know, their whole team is already there responding to SK's aggression. And you just have to appreciate these rotations in response, because SK really thought they were about to get a nice pick there onto Sam for free.
First time in the game then, Trifecta will hold the kill lead 8-7, and the gold lead as well, considering how this early game began. The next objective on the cards is the Gold Fury, and I'm not sure every team would be comfortable about looking at it just yet.
That felt desperate, though, from SK. They've had numerous attempts towards this red buff specifically, where they've tried to get invade after invade onto Trifecta, and it's never really worked out, but that was the first real one that they were heavily punished for. Losing 4 members and only picking up 2, it should be the ultimate, don't come in here anymore. Stop trying to go for those heavy jungle buff invades, but I'm concerned that SK might have already put themselves a little bit too far behind from all of these failed attempts.
Quite possibly. Zapman trying to get back to lane, takes a bit of hope from Funballer, Halfdevil on the rotation again. Ward coverage so far seems to be favoring Trifecta. I don't know if that's been a consistent thing through the game so far, but currently on the map, a lot of blue wards that have given a bit of vision. SK starting to answer that back as Zapman forced to use his ult defensively.
That's the beauty of Jingwei, though. Zap will airstrike away as many times as he needs to, and anytime he feels threatened, I think that's exactly what he should be doing, because the last thing we want to see is Zap starting to work his way up there with the death count, because Trifecta are going to need their Hunter to stay alive if they want to continue turning these engagements.
Halfdevil looking at his usual spot on the enemy back half. He's here under pressure from Samfasaka, but as a Fenrir, he should be okay. Fails in the mid lane, though. Goes in on Paul, and Paul says, "You what? Do you know who I am?" Immediately turns round, ults with the Freya, picks up a kill. Faeles falls a 3rd time.
Just so much investment, though. Again, Paul's inside of his T1 tower. Halfdevil gonna eat a huge chunk of his health now. starting to wish he had a little bit more magical defense to his name. And with that poke out, Trifecta now feeling confident to start pulling this Gold Fury.
Gold Fury has been pulled, as you said. Sampa tanking it up now, but none of these really want to be the ones that tank this. They would like NeiruMah here to hold it for them, but NeiruMah going to go on his own work for a second. Halfdevil, the real man around, looking for stuns if he can, gets banished by Paul. Pop to the face, and there goes half of Fenrir's health bar.
There's no way. Halfdevil actually debating coming back in here. Lawbster hoping to find the Chiron ultimate shots to try and steal this Gold Fury away, but Trifecta, they've been baiting here for ages, trying to pull SK in.
Funballer's just got ulted by Sanford, but Sanford went too deep. The shield was huge, though. That sustained him up massively, and Scary D's there to back him up. NeiruMah did use a Stygian tournament a little bit earlier on Lawbster, so his speeds are down and has to stay pretty far back too. Both teams realizing that a fight around this Gold Fury is literally a coin flip on who gets it.
It's best, though, for both sides to back off, especially Trifecta. Faeles' Fear No Evil was about to come back up off cooldown. Funballer still had the Changeling ultimate for the Morrigan, and had two Fear No Evils come together in that space, staggered, Trifecta might have just ended up wiping.
However, a window has presented itself for SK. They will get the Pyromancer. Trifecta trying to respond in kind at the Gold Fury again. Funballer has vision, Halfdevil on the rotation too. Halfdevil no ultimate for a few more seconds at least. And this Gold Fury has been reset once more.
Waxing Moon going to connect onto Halfdevil. There goes the Athena ultimate, trying to give some damage mitigation to Halfdevil, but it's Zapman who has to ult away.
Scary D falls down. Zapman still dies to Faeles. Now Faeles looking at NeiruMah as Paul is forced out to the tier 2 on left. Meanwhile, Gold Fury being done by Lawbster and Funballer. Sampa, however, is near the Gold Fury. Faeles will still bring down NeiruMah.
Sacred Monkey Toss off of the blink, just for good
this.
measure. And Ducky still messing with Paul on the backside. Beautiful synergy.
Trifecta got it! He stole the Gold Fury, Sampa, that's what wards do! And now he kills Lawbster! Next to this could be Funballer, but he'll respect the fact that there's multiple members on the other side of that Gold Fury pit of SK. This is a back and forth encounter. Neither side clean, but damn, it's fun to watch.
That was SK's. That should have been their
Yep.
Gold Fury, and no one bothered to even look behind them for a second. That's one of those circumstances where SK are probably kicking themselves right now for allowing Sam to just waltz right in there and strip that one away for free. SK did such a fantastic job killing everyone around the area, and yet they still left out Sam for soccer.
Can we just go back to the graphs again just for a second? Because look at the dip on the graphs here in the gold. You see that big dip down? That was the Pyro and the team fight. But after that, the moment it gets to that very bottom is the moment the Gold Fury gets taken and makes this an even game again. That Gold Fury secure from Sampa was more important than the team fight.
Can only imagine what the fans back at home for both of these teams are feeling like. Probably looking like the graphs. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster of emotions.
These fans have been following these two teams all season. They've seen this before, okay? They're both at the same point, though, going, please be our team that wins, you know? Like EU versus NA, it's a classic matchup of two experienced teams.
What I'm really starting to notice, though, as more and more of these engagements take place, is SK's ability to individually pick targets. They have so much control and area denial with these Fear No Evils that as long as Faeles finds even one member, Trifecta's composition seems to kind of fall apart at the seams. And I think a big sign of that also is just how much focus SK are placing towards Zapman, because Zapman is constantly just being ran at by Halfdevil, and it just doesn't seem like Scary D's Chang'e is enough peel quite yet.
It does feel, though, that if you look at Faeles' slash line so far, 10 kills for him out of the 11 SK have got, but 0 assists. If Faeles gets involved in a fight, he either dies or he's the one that's going to get the killing blow.
That's just the way it is sometimes.
Halfdevil getting aggressive on Scary D. Ducky with some good body blocks, but Scary D will dance out of a terrible situation there. The minion didn't really help him for the most part, but at the end of the day, he will escape for now. Lawbster under pressure from NeiruMah, but avoids the damage again. Neil's having a pretty okay time on this Cerberus so far.
Neil's doing about everything he can right now to keep SK at bay from his carries, but it's complicated. Paul, great reaction timer there off
Really
the Fear
was.
No Evil, straight into the Valkyrie's discretion.
A really good ult from NeiruMah, but straight away Halfdevil was ready for it. And on the dunk from Ducky, Paul's under pressure. This is the composition they're after. Take out Paul time and time again. Halfdevil trying to push out Sampa as Zapman gets focused. Scary D, however, now made the rotation, and that should be a sign for SK to fall back a little bit here. They find a pick. It wasn't over much, however, because there's nothing to contest in the jungle.
It looked like Neil got a little bit too focused, though, on who he wrapped up in that Stingent Torment, because Paul was just getting freely aggressed on by 2 different members from SK, and Neil was just nowhere to be found.
He had the Ragnarok straight away, though, did Halfdevil as NeiruMah went for the Stygian Torment. So CC immune, make sure you don't get knocked up there. SK trying to bruise the mid lane. Nice little escape from Scary D there, but this minion wave now under the tier 1 tower. Quite a few melee gods as well, so this tower won't take too long as NeiruMah stunned in place, Halfdevil with aggro. Sanfasaka on the right-hand side comes in, gets jumped on by Faeles. Lawbster gonna get the beads out of Sanfasaka there, interestingly enough, but SK will not be able to take down the tier 1.
This was meant to be a power play moment for SK, but they're just having some trouble around these structures. Funballer being on the Morrigan ADC means that it's up to Lawbster to try and punch away at these T1 structures, but Chiron, not exactly the safest hunter to be taking up the frontline positions.
Tier 1 in the mid lane falls, and the right-hand side 3 members of SK are already there, but they won't be able to stop Scary D. Sitting under his tower and making sure this one doesn't go down too. Bigger game for SK, I think, here, Taco, than it is for Trifecta, just because Insignum have already beaten Trifecta this tournament. The minor league EU team, SK's the 6-seeded EU SPL team. They're expected to win, considering their EU brethren have already done it against this team.
Well, that's the original mentality, but how much VOD review has Trifecta really had a time to put into work? Because Zap was even talking about it in the interview, where the team just seemed like they had forgotten about picks, forgotten about strategies, and it kind of just went out the window, which I could somewhat understand from the player perspective. If you are feeling extremely overconfident in a matchup, I'm not saying that it's the right decision to do by any means, but it can be very easy to let that false sense of security take over.
ALG versus Nocturnes once upon a time in a previous World Championship. That happened there once, where a team wasn't respected enough. I don't think these two teams, however, they'll disrespect each other or look over each other whatsoever, because they've both been in the same spot all season.
Mostly referencing the Insignum matchup that Trifecta underwent. But in this one, I think that SK are really just trying to prove to everybody that they are a team that is capable of taking other SPL teams to the brink, if not winning over completely. I also really like Ducky on this Athena. I haven't really been sold on it before in the past when we've seen Ducky pilot the Athena, but in this particular comp, I think that the Defender of Olympus's could not have been better timed, and it's because of those out-rotations over Scary D that SK have had the upper hand in the past few fights.
Gold Fury down to half health. Funballer on his own work at the moment, but it's good enough, actually, to secure themselves a Gold Fury. Ducky flanking around the back towards Paul and Zap and keeping Scary D in the base. Did make sure that was a nice 3-1 from SK. Surprised that Trifecta weren't really in a position to stop that.
No one from Trifecta nearby outside of maybe Paul and Sam Soccer, and that's just not going to be enough.
Oh, cheeky engage, and that's the beads burn on Scary D. Fear no evil after the fact. Fails 8 more damage than bargain for. NeiruMah Stygian Tournament won't only get Ducky. That's a tank after all. He should be okay for now. Paul, however, looking at ultimate damage on the backline. But Funballer turns into the Chang'e. Starts to sustain his team up and force back Trifecta.
A nice waxing move from Scary D, but it's going to be immune from Funballer, who is still in that Chang'e long enough to get the immunity frame off.
Lawbster could go down. Airstrike from Zap. Didn't find a home. Lawbster gets away. Now Zap looking at Halfdevil and Ducky, but both of them still alive. Halfdevil does fall. Paul looking at Funballer, who's got absolutely no mana.
But the banish is off the mark, and so is the paralyzing spit. Funballer juking for his life right now, every which way. Paul's still wanting to give chase, despite not having any mana himself.
This is very reminiscent of Season 1 Smite right now, with these sort of plays in the game of days gone by and the amount of aggression we're seeing. You're not wrong, it's 11-12 in this game so far. 23 kills in under 23 minutes in a life or death situation for both these teams.
It's weird, though, because you see SK win a team fight, and then they get the Gold Fury. They keep Trifecta completely zoned out. But then all of a sudden, it's Trifecta who's got SK pushing all the way back to their T2 towers, and you just never really know who's going to actually come out on top.
Scary D's not going to come out on top of this one. He tried to save his immunity as long as he could, but Faeles just waited for the right moment, drops the Fear No Evil, and takes the kill. And now SK looking to push the situation further. The Fire Giant has been started, but NeiruMah is aware. He's the only one around, however, and he's got to wait for backup.
But I don't think backup's ever going to come.
No.
Halfdevil's the only reinforcements arriving, except he's on SK, and that's going to be a Fire Giant. practically for free here, all off of one pick onto Scary D.
One problem with Trifecta's comp though, Taco, we mentioned like SK kind of suffers a bit of front line in the fact they've got the Fenrir there instead of an actual Guardian. But then again, the same could be said for Trifecta. They've got this Chang'e instead, and it's not really a full frontline god. It's a dancer, you know?
It's the crowd control, I think, that Trifecta are really struggling with right now. SK just have so many different ways to hard crowd control members of Trifecta that the picks just keep happening. And as long as they find one, we talked about it a little bit earlier, that's all they really need to get that momentum going, to start pushing for objectives, to start pushing for the towers. And I think Zap and Paul, they've done a pretty solid job so far at surviving as best they can, but there needs, Scary D, I think, has to exclusively play babysitter for one or the other, because constantly having Halfdevil Ducky just spamming Trifecta's carries is never going to bode well for them.
And I think that's the issue NeiruMah's having here, is he can't do it all on his own. That's what it feels like in this Guardian role. He's got enough CC to control one or two gods maybe, but he can't look after the front and the back line at the same time. It's just not possible. There's only so much one person can do.
Halfdevil now also with the Lono's mask going to be fairly tanky. Even without being a raw Guardian, Fenrir can still get pretty obnoxious, especially with these unchained cooldown resets. I think that is something that SK have also started playing around a little bit better here. Halfdevil has been a lot more consistent in the past few fights with leading off of Unchained into the Ragnarok.
Do like this back out of SK at this moment in time. The Fire Giant's going to be on them for about another 2 minutes time. Gold Fury's up in a minute's time as well. So that back there means they spend all that gold they just got from the Fire Giant and the tier 2 on the right-hand side. And then when they go for these tier 2s, they can fall back, pick up the gold on exit, and then buy again and have a huge lead for the next Fire Giant spawn.
I think that back was really well timed and also a little bit mandatory because judging by what Halfdevil picked up, the T2 of what will either be a mantle or a spirit robe, he had at least 1,500 gold in hand. And that's not factoring in what the other carries might have been carrying from SK.
So tier 2 falls in the mid lane. NeiruMah the only one there. Halfdevil going a little bit deep with a leap there. Maybe actually force a fight because of it. He will escape for now, though. He's a little bit tankier than he once was, especially because he's got the mask online too now. And SK have only got one tier 2 tower to look at in the dual lane.
I think Paul just saved NeiruMah's life, by the way, because that was a nice Unchained stun onto NeiruMah, and the Ragnarok was surely about to follow there. Even as a Cerberus, I think that Halfdevil could have very easily carried NeiruMah back into the clutches of SK, and they would have burned him.
And you think that's a real only frontline tank they've got. It could have caused them some problems on defense. You're right there. There's SK getting the tier 2 in mid and left-hand side. Now fall back to the gold 3 as we expected. So they'll pick that up and try and extend a bit of the gold lead, but Zap's going to try and answer it back with a bit of split pushing for the tier 1 on the right-hand side.
Looks as though Halfdevil's going to be the one sent to try and respond or at least prevent Zapman from pushing for a T2, but Zap not even going to bother making the effort. He understands that if he sticks around for just a little bit too long, anybody could rotate to him, and without any vision, you don't know which direction they're coming from.
SK Gaming's actual camera pictures of this team, the one thing I've noticed the difference between the previous games I've seen SK in is they're all talking. Like, their mouths are actually moving. Whether they're saying anything relevant or not is a different story. I mean, Halfdevil's on that team, so it might not be the case. But they are all actually talking a little bit more, which is something that you need. You need those communications.
They're zoned in right now. All focus is being paid to the game at hand, and when you're on the threshold of winning, which SK very well are, you don't want to take any chances. Every single little aspect is being called out, or at least it should be getting called out right now by the relevant members of SK. And Trifecta, they're the ones who are really in a bit of a pickle here because they have to make the decision between defending this next Fire Giant despite this massive goal disparity that's taking place between the teams. So now SK have the itemization lead, but if they let the Fire Giant go for free, well, SK's composition is actually kind of ideal for sieging because with 2 Fear No Evils, you can just send Lawbster and Funballer to prioritize whacking away at those Phoenixes to just exposing one. All they need is one, and I think that's where we'll see the real collapse of Trifecta take place.
Trifecta looking at it, potentially trying to get a tier 2 on the left-hand side, but Ducky's already over here to defend, and Ducky's the right sort of god to be in this situation because he's going to have his ultimate to get out of it if it's too dangerous anyway. But with this being telegraphed that Trifecta are on the left-hand side now, it presents a free Fire Giant yet again for SK Game.
Ducky, though, gonna have to dash away here. Was trying to get the creep waves back in his favor, and I really like this from Trifecta. They know that they're not gonna have a chance at defending this Fire Giant. They don't want to take the risk. So instead, they're looking to push out every lane as much as possible to just delay SK's push into those Phoenixes.
Well, that's why I like Ducky being there too. Like, no, you're not doing that. We're going to have this at least in midfield so we can just push it back down. And that Fire Giant could be basically the sound of the bring out your dead bell is what it's after here for Trifecta. They have 3 Phoenixes to defend. How is their defense though, Taco? Like, do they have a decent squad for defending?
It's not as great as it could be. I think the main issue they're going to run into here is that Paul and Zapman are mostly single target, and the best type of Phoenix defense compositions are ones where you have a lot of AoE control. Without that space control. Exactly.
Yeah.
And without a true mage like that, you've got Scary D, sure, with the Chang'e, but if Scary D pushes up too far in the front line, then he winds up being controlled and abused, similar to what would happen to Zapman and Paul here.
Would it be better to maybe look at having NeiruMah be and engage them before, or time is engaged at the same time as SK goes in to try and keep them off the Phoenixes?
But see, that's where the complications arise, though, is if SK, or if Trifecta try to engage before SK are fully committed to diving underneath those Phoenixes, I think they just lose the fight unless Paul gets some kind of massive damage out onto a carry like Lawbster, Faeles, or Funballer. That's probably the only way that I really see SK choosing to back off here.
Well, the lanes are getting pushed up now so far. Ducky on the left and Lawbster and Faeles in the mid lane. They're going to go and pick up the red buff too. Taking the time about it here, SK. Better safe than sorry, and maybe you get a pick if Trifecta reach into their own jungle. But so far, Trifecta just going to sit and turtle at these Phoenixes.
And this is also really smart from Halfdevil. The Emperor's armor after the Mantle of Discord. Not only is that mini stun proc going to be rather effective up against gods like Paul and Zapman, but even with the Emperors, that should make sieging a little bit easier since SK have so much melee range base damage.
Keep an eye on Ducky and Halfdevil. They will be the engage for SK game. Maybe Ducky dashing in for taunts or Halfdevil leaping in, looking for a stun. In the mid lane right now, they've left Faeles 1v1 up against Sanford Soccer to try and split the difference and not allow Trifecta to have the whole team here at the start of a fight.
I think Faeles is taking the right initiative, looking for the split push. Nice taunt in onto Scary D, and Stingent Torment already going to come through, but it's not going to wrap up anybody. Instead, it's going to be Neil getting carried into the clutches of SK.
NeiruMah already dead. Scary D got a good waxing moon off, but already SK happy with the result there. It cost him a Ragnarok and the ult out of Chiron, and 1 set of beads. Well, 2, I shouldn't say, because Funballer did beads as well. So it's not all that easy for SK now. 2 sets of beads on their carries. Good news is Faeles still has this ultimate.
But you still had 2 possible Fear No Evil. Scary D brought down half health already. Ducky and Lawbster are going to get knocked up from a nice persistent gust out of Zapman, but Halfdevil just whacking away at the Phoenix, and SK are going to take down the left Firebird with little to no fight from Trifecta.
All the way, Sanford Soccer was still having to hold mid against Faeles, and now the whole army of SK has arrived. Paul and Zapman still alive, though, as they're looking for some damage. Talk from Ducky as Halfdevil goes to the back line yet again. Sanford Soccer just take down Lawbster, and Zap escapes for now. But Paul's trying to do all he can in his own. He's going to force the Aegis out of Funballer at least. Now Scary D may be able to clean that up, but Faeles is now hunting for the Freya.
SK forgot that they still need people attacking the mid lane Phoenix.
This is good.
That Firebird is still going to stay alive. Fails ups and downs, but straight into all 5 members of Trifecta, and that's going to be the end of the sieging from SK.
My God. Would you look at that? The story, the tale as old as the year has been. Season 5, these are 2 teams that are just going to keep going at it. I don't think even can win. I don't think that's even in the script. I don't even think I wrote down what was going to happen in the script because I expected this would probably happen.
Waxy Moon off the mark now. Sanford Soccer getting carried away, but Halfdevil just taking him to Narnia, or straight to his own red buff.
Like 10k gold lead for SK Gaming, they take a Phoenix down and then they forget about the other Phoenix and go for kills. Paul, to be fair to him, granted, Paul did a lot in that fight, survived, baited the whole team to chase him and go for the kills. And then the follow-up is Scary D coming back and Zap coming back caused a lot of problems for them. But SK should have picked one or the other. You go for the fight or you go for the Phoenix. Don't lose both.
Well, once they forced out the Valkyrie's discretion from Paul and Funballer had Aegis out that damage, that was it. That was the end of the fighting. All SK needed to do was just turn and look at the mid-side Phoenix. It was already at half health. They just completely ignored it to continue chasing kills.
And now the longer the game goes, the respawn time is increased too. Not only that, but the gold deficit becomes less and less. You can already see Zapman has a power potion in his inventory now, which means that gold is becoming marginally negated throughout the game. It just comes down towards, yeah, it's 10k, but what's 10k at 30 minutes when you're full build?
Having lost that left side Phoenix, though, does still hurt Trifecta pretty heavily because they're going to constantly be under the threat now of those fire creeps rushing into the base. Ducky just trying to get out whatever he can in terms of abilities. Halfdevil wants to go in, but that's going to be the callback from SK, reminding him that they are still objective focused.
Halfdevil really is like see hero, kill hero. He's always that way. I've seen him in these games. Sometimes a little bit too much for his own good or his team's here. Trifecta, though, starting to group up around this fire giant a little bit more. They're in their own jungle, got a bit of wall coverage down. It looks like they're going for a bit of a contest.
It really is like watching the dog chasing cars. Even though he knows he's going to hit the end of the fence eventually, he still goes after it every single time.
Well, now, fire giant started up by SK, and the pressure that Trifecta had around that for a moment or two, at least the look of contesting, has now faded away. SK Gaming will get their third fire giant of the game. And now with the Phoenix already being down, as you mentioned, Taco, this should be relatively easy because you send one member maybe to the weakened Phoenix and the rest of the team to, I don't know, mid or the right-hand side. It could present even more problems for Trifecta.
Zapman's trying to push up this wave as far as possible, but he can't really afford to go much further out than what he already has. If he pushes up any more, he's just going to end up getting caught out by perhaps Halfdevil.
Well, Halfdevil sees him, but he's not going to continue the chase into the jungle for now. Wall coverage was there, so at least Zap knew what was going on. The left-hand Phoenix is going to spawn by the time this minion wave of SKs in the mid lane hits that Phoenix.
SK have a massive wave in the right-hand side. I'm sure they've probably spotted out. Might be choosing to head towards it also. It is the Phoenix closest to the fire giant, but it's also the furthest away from the Phoenix they've already taken out. And with two waves of fire minions coming in, they want to distract Trifecta long enough to hopefully let the minions siege.
Late kid from Soccer and Lawbster gets him to force back with no beads used there whatsoever. Halfdevil, a lot more damage than bargained for. Paul was still looking for the kill, but can't find it. Halfdevil gets out of the fight. NeiruMah, different story. Funballer brings him down. Scary D gets torn in, as does Soccer. But now the follow-up damage from Funballer as he turns into the Freya.
Funballer trying to put out as much damage as possible, but just didn't really get much out of that Valkyrie's discretion. Trifecta, though, still not willing to give up this right-hand Phoenix. It's Paul and Zapman playing defense against a weakened SK.
Still minions there, though. That means the Phoenix will take a battering a little bit quicker. The right-hand Phoenix falls. The left one is still alive, and Soccer's over there to defend it. But with NeiruMah dead for the next 30 seconds, not many ultimates left up outside of Zapman's. However, the relic situation for SK isn't too bad. Their carries are still in an okay spot. But there's no overconfidence here from SK. They're taking it slow. They're going to go to the weakened Phoenix.
And that's the problem. SK knew that they had a fire wave still remaining here, and this Phoenix should go down relatively easily without NeiruMah to help play defense.
Halfdevil goes towards Paul. At the same time, so does Faeles. Faeles no ultimate either at the moment, but the Phoenix has fallen. Faeles with the overhand smash. Won't find anything, but Scary D's a little bit too far forward here. Good talk from Ducky, but Zap swings at Ducky's face and forces him back.
Halfdevil off the mark with that Unchained from the Athena taunt. Those are the kind of abilities you have to connect with if you want to keep that CC chain going.
Waxing Moon gets rid of the beads from Lawbster, and the follow-up damage from the airstrike of Zapman is pretty good. Ooh, nice little stutter step from Zap there, and Halfdevil was looking for a cheeky little grab the Jing way and run, but it won't be the case. Trifecta are chasing SK through the left-hand side of the map now.
This could be fantastic, or it could be completely awful right now for Trifecta. They're not leaving themselves many options, but check out Funballer. He's getting the ultimate right now from Ducky, and it's Fear No Evil. It's a complete turnaround into Trifecta, and they've corralled themselves now into SK's jungle.
Soccer does bring down Lawbster at least, and now Paul's trying to follow for extra damage, but there's no further on. Funballer's Aegis now down, Halfdevil stuns too, has to leap away. Trifecta still marching up to the tier 2 tower of SK. Health bars are relatively low, but they do have a Chang'e.
SK managing to survive there in what I thought was about to be certain death for Trifecta. Really well played by Sam to find that initial pick onto Lawbster. I think that's a large part of the reason why we don't see other members of Trifecta falling. SK kind of hurting now from not having that range hunter damage.
I just don't think it hurts him enough though, Taco. I think if Trifecta managed to pick all the members of SK there, we're back to an even game. They'll probably get a Phoenix, maybe even two, a couple of towers as well. But the base is just a mess when you look at Trifecta at the moment. 2 Phoenixes down. SK can just hold back, wait a few minutes, don't worry about it. Lawbster can respawn, we can wait for relics. The fire minions will do the work for us for now.
I don't think that SK can afford to try to all-in commit, though, for the Phoenix or for the Titan.
Yeah.
And even with 2 Firebirds missing, they would need a lot of fire creeps stacked up inside of Trifecta's base before they would be able to effectively just focus on that Titan.
The best thing about this set for these two teams is they both get to look for the footage and realize where they're going wrong time and time again, because both these teams have had their issues and they're both becoming prevalent in this set so far. 15 to 15. 39 minutes approaching in this game. Gold doesn't matter. Experience doesn't matter. It's all about mechanics, positioning, communication, and making sure your Titan stays standing.
It's pretty rough around the edges right now, though, for both teams. This is certainly
Fun to
not
watch,
the same
though.
sort of clean gameplay. We saw a lot cleaner gameplay, though, from Trifecta during the online portions of the split.
That's true.
And I just feel like they're having a really tough time getting back to where they originally found some of their later fall split success.
I mean, LAN environment also brings a different factor into it, doesn't it? You know, it's not necessarily your usual setup. You're not got your cozy bits around you all the time, your comforts, you know? You don't have them there. All you've got is your fellow players and a room full of cameras that are staring at you, knowing that thousands are watching at home.
I do find it funny, though, how accurate that original Faeles comment was on he's either going to be a part of the kills and getting the kills himself, or he's just going to outright die, because that has held true for the entirety of this match. 13 out of 15 kill count participation, and with assists that low, you just know that he doesn't really have many options here other than to perform.
It's not a terrible situation, though. I mean, at least he's getting the kills, right? It would be worse if he didn't get any kills and was just feeding his way to victory. SK, though, now sieging up the right-hand Phoenix that has respawned. Not much of a look of defense from Trifecta just yet, but there's NeiruMah with a great blink in. Zap goes into trouble because of Halfdevil, but Halfdevil eats more damage than bargained for. Phoenix is still fine, and Sam for Soccer goes a Lawbster.
But NeiruMah, he wasn't able to grab Halfdevil in that Stingent Torment because of the banish from Paul. Paul, though, still managing to find Ducky in the end here. And I don't think SK are going to be able to push. They're not going to feel comfortable pushing.
They're not. They're on the runaway now. That means the right-hand Phoenix is up. The left one respawns. Aye, 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 aye.
That's a little bit of a clown fiesta there for SK Gaming. Halfdevil just went so deep without any real follow-up on his team, and it's almost like SK missed the memo on following up on the Fenrir.
Honestly, I think I've got to give more credit to NeiruMah and Sam, because NeiruMah blinks in and scares off the damage dealers from coming any further. And then straight after that, Sam goes in on Lawbster. So the carries of SK are trying to defend themselves.
But Halfdevil picking up NeiruMah and carrying this Cerberus back into the entirety of SK, that's what Trifecta wanted, probably.
Right. You're right. It's always the risk, isn't it? Dogs bringing other dogs to the party isn't necessarily the best idea in the world. Let's put it that way. But here we go again. SK, even with Ducky dead, however, they're starting to siege up. And this makes sense because Ducky does have his Athena ultimate. Not only that, a teleport too. So this could maybe throw Trifecta for a loop if they don't realize that Athena was the one that's missing from the fight.
I think SK are going to wait for Ducky to use his teleport first.
Yeah.
He should definitely go for the teleport first, and then Athena ultimate back in case he has to back off.
And there you go. That's exactly what's going to happen here. I would rather him to use the Athena ult and then teleport back to the fight later on. That's what I would have preferred personally. I like the idea of just like Halfdevil diving in like he has been all game, almost like headless chicken style, and then the Athena ult comes through to cause problems.
Halfdevil now trying to cause some problems here for Scary D. Scary D using the Chang'e dance, but the patience from Halfdevil this time around will bring this Chang'e back into the clutches of SK.
Fenrir Weaver wasn't the greatest though, and this Phoenix is still alive. The damage from Lawbster to the backside isn't enough to bring anybody down. There's no minions here. SK are trying to force the situation with Ducky going in and Halfdevil too, but Paul is standing strong as he can, looking to get some damage off them to Faeles and force them back. But SK Gaming at least get the Phoenix.
Turntail and run. They're trying to get out of here. Halfdevil with a nice jump stun onto Zapman, but Zapman's going to end up finding Lawbster with the airstrike and still pushing forward. Ducky has Defender of Olympus back in.
Oh no! Funball's dead. He turned into the hum Batz and couldn't get any damage off either. Two members of SK have died for the right-hand Phoenix. And those respawn timers, Taco, are on Lawbster and Funballer, the carries of this team.
But all of the towers are still up for SK. They still have all of their T2s, and Paul and Sam, they're going to look to chase out Ducky, but they're just spending time looking for this Athena, time that they maybe could have spent instead pushing up the mid-hand lane to take away some T2s.
I think they can kill him, though. I actually do think if they keep the chase going, they potentially could have, but they're going to give up the goose there, which kind of makes sense. Like you said,
It was 20 seconds, though.
You're
20
right.
seconds of wasted time, essentially.
I do think, though, if they do pick Athena there, the respawn time of a minute on the Athena causes a lot more problems for SK, especially when the Fire Giant's up in a minute and 20 seconds, too.
But I think if you start chasing the Athena for that long, you have to just commit at that
And
point.
that's where
You've
I'm at,
already
yeah.
missed out on your opportunity to push out the remainder of those T2s by splitting apart to begin with. So just go all in. There's almost nothing to be lost there because I highly doubt anyone from SK was going to be there in time to back up Ducky.
Now, there is good news for Trifecta fans. Obviously, they're still in the game, first of all. But second of all, is the only Phoenix that's currently down and has fire minions coming in is the right-hand side Phoenix. This is one of the easiest ones to defend while also attempting to defend the Fire Giant. And I want to ask you, do you expect him to try and defend the Fire Giant now because of this?
No. I still don't think that jungle fights will bode very well for Trifecta, simply because Fear No Evil in these jungle corridor spaces, a lot easier to connect with also. We saw on that right-hand Phoenix siege, I believe it was SK that actually had a really solid CC chain going, but the Fear No Evil was so off the mark that it didn't have the impact that they were hoping for. And those are the kind of abilities, though, where you need to effectively chain them together.
Bit of a mess CC chain there from SK Gaming, quite a lot invested into Halfdevil there for a second, and that forces Trifecta to fall back as they didn't do as much as they wanted to. SK control the Fire Giant pit for the moment as Halfdevil once again goes in. Ragnarok connects on Paul and gets the beads out of him, but now Halfdevil could be in a lot of trouble. The shell will keep him topped up for now. Samfasaka once again is fighting the Chiron, and Lawbster's going to have nightmares of Samfasaka trying to punch him in the back of the head.
Fails holding on to that Fear No Evil for this moment. Exactly. Defender of Olympus threw down onto Scary D's noggin, but just not enough damage.
Halfdevil forced back to base after the fight. Funballer now on the run, being chased down by the entire team of Trifecta. The stealth will not escape NeiruMah whatsoever, but he's still on the run, and the mobility will just about get him out. Messy fight, no one wins. Well, I guess it's Trifecta, because they may be able to get the Fire Giant now.
This actually does look like a promising opportunity for Trifecta on the Fire Giant. There is a fresh wave of fire minions coming in here, and a teleport also coming through Ducky.
Oh, leap it in! Trifecta get the Fire Giant though, Halfdevil. It was close, but there wasn't enough damage involved for him with that tanky build to really make an impact. Now Trifecta head back to the base to defend once more, clear out the fire minions and right, and maybe, just maybe, go on the offensive.
I can't help but go all the way back about 25 minutes or so, Hindu, when SK had a massive lead over Trifecta, and instead of sieging that mid-Phoenix, they solely went for the kills, and it's biting them in the butt now, because had they had those two Phoenixes down and fire minions pouring in from those sides so close together, I think they might have been able to close out this game already.
Really has been a long year for these two teams. It's been a long year for the casters to cast these two teams as well. I'll just add that to it. But it's been fun so far. 46 minutes, and there's still no end in sight, in all honesty, between these two. If you're just tuning in, by the way, this is a best of 3, so make sure you put a cup of tea on after this one during the break, because I expect this could go all 3 games with how this is looking.
Without a doubt. I would not be surprised in the slightest if these teams managed to go all the way down to the wire of the full 3 matches. And what a huge swing of momentum also, and a sigh of relief. You can just feel the weight that's been lifted off of Trifecta's shoulders and being thrown immediately onto SK, because they were so close. They could practically taste their victory. Now to be this threatened for a loss.
Looking at Scary D, gets the stun off on him, and that was the stealth tactic from Fumble. Halfdevil goes to the back line, though, to try and keep him away. He eats a bit of damage, but so does Scary D. Scary D forced to use his beads against the Ragnarok, but that's one of the engagement tools from SK now down, and NeiruMah's looking to get the beads out of the Chiron, and does so.
Check out Sam, though. Sam wrapping all the way around the backside. He's done this a few times before already, just trying to hunt out Lawbster. Great spot out, though, from Funballer, making sure to check his flank. T2 tower will end up falling in Trifecta's favor, but because of the threatening positioning from Sam, that's what really prompts SK to back off.
Bit of a problem, though, for Trifecta on sieging these Phoenixes now, too, is the fact that NeiruMah, their real engage tool, has no blink, has no ultimate. So this is going to open a window again where Trifecta just have to wait around a little bit, wait for some cooldowns potentially. Outside of that, it's kind of a banish, isn't it, that you're looking for as a setup, or maybe a waxing moon. So I can understand why Trifecta are now falling back once more.
They've got a little bit longer, though. on this Fire Giant. Halfdevil gonna get spotted out. Waxing Moon and controlled non-stop. The chase is on right now for
Still alive
Trifecta.
again, though. And now the Fear Evil coming in straight through after the fact, too. A lot of problems here for Trifecta and SK.
A lot of problems for both of these players. And
Okay, as you can see, the game is still going for you boys and girls at home. Apologies for the technical issues. We'll get those taken care of as soon as possible. As you can see, I've not updated my Windows PC is what my problem seems to be. I'll get it fixed soon. Apologies again. This always seems to happen to me. I don't know why.
I think you're cursed.
It's always me.
I think you're just cursed, honestly.
I'm blaming you.
I'm blaming you. It's never happened to me before. It's got to be you. There's one reoccurring factor in these situations.
Do you reckon this only happens because I'm English, so I'm really good at apologizing? Is that what it's about?
I
think it is.
I don't know
must
if
be.
that's the case, though.
I don't know why.
Have you said you're sorry yet?
I already did. I'll do it in the English
But
accent.
have you said it to
So,
the viewers specifically?
just to give you guys an update, first of all, it's only a spectator issue here, unfortunately. The game is still ongoing, so that will keep getting played out, and we'll get back to the action as soon as we can. Hopefully, we don't want to interrupt the players, though, because that is important that the players are still able to play successfully. It's more important than us being able to bring you the broadcast. That's where the focus is on now.
Based off what we were seeing, though, in that last teamfight engagement, that was Halfdevil not realizing that the entirety of Trifecta were grouped up around that top left mid Harpies choke point. And then the way that he just panicked immediately, that was a solid CC chain, I think, from Trifecta the whole way through. Rather unfortunate that they weren't able to fully bring him down.
Well, with how this has been going so far, it could have been still going for another 10, 15 minutes, so don't worry too much, because neither team has really been in the position to... Well, SK has been in the position to end, but it's not the case.
SK, I think, lost the opportunity to end a long time ago, and this one I could definitely see going all the way out to like 60, 70-minute slugfest even, because the transformations from Funballer were really solid all throughout some of those Phoenix Sieges. It just felt like they might have been using those Fear No Evils a little bit too close together. There were a couple of times where I actually saw the effects of Purification Beads still wearing off and the immunity frame being provided onto the secondary Fear No Evil.
Two nervous teams that have a very big set between themselves so far, and how this has been going. Once again, I want to apologize for these technical issues. Wasn't intentional. What we're going to do is go straight back to the desk for a bit of a breakdown of what we've seen so far, and we're going to bring you the action as soon as we can.
Back and forth, back and forth. The action's so explosive that we couldn't actually handle it. As Hindu Man said, the players are still playing right now. Agro, before we came to the desk, you had a chance to kind of run down there. Were you able to see anything?
No, I was not. Unfortunately, you called me back too soon. I was very close, but what we've seen so far is that SK has really struggled at breaking the base of Trifecta. They've gotten Phoenixes a couple times, but these team fights have been a little bit too linear for SK. It's been Fenrir ult onto one of the tanks, and at 40+ minutes in the game, it just hasn't worked as of late.
And then not only that, we saw the solo Batz ult onto Scary D at that Fire Giant, and at 45 minutes, solo ulting a Chang'e who's full build at that point is not doing anything for you. SK is just having so much trouble really getting these team fights in their favor. Trifecta, they're holding the base. They might lose the Phoenix, but they're winning these fights after.
That's the story for me here, watching this set, is more about the mistakes on both sides than the upsides. You mentioned the Scary D solo ult, and then I'm looking at NeiruMah blink ulting nothing at least twice. I mean, these are strong players. NeiruMah, I love to watch him, not performing here. SK, same deal. The story here for game number one is more about the teams not performing than overperforming.
Trifecta definitely dropped the ball through the first 30+ minutes of this game. I mean, Zapman was sitting at the very bottom of the player damage charts. Now in the last 15 or so, now that he's hit full build, he's really risen up. I believe he was top player damage last time we saw it. So he has been doing well in these team fights now. It just took a little bit too long for Trifecta to get the ball rolling.
It's been a bit of a struggle for both of these teams here, and I think the team fight aspect is really the big struggle for both of them, even though we do have Trifecta winning under these Phoenixes. They're not getting enough of them. They're just getting the one pick, maybe the two, and then after that, they can't do anything because either their Phoenix is down or everybody on SK has already gotten away.
This Lonos Mask Fenrir is just nearly impossible to kill. Halfdevil's not doing any damage whatsoever, but that's not his job. His job is to find those initiation stuns and use that Ragnarok. But like I said, it's got to be on different targets than the tanks. It just has not worked. I think that Halfdevil needs to be in there and using his own body as just a shield more often than he is. And then use Ragnarok later on in the fight. Use it after Neil uses Stygian Torment. Use it after Scary is already pushed up, and use that Waxing Moon, because half the time Halfdevil's just initiating for Trifecta.
Yeah, he's been a big part of some of the successes that we've seen, what's going on for SK Gaming as far as isolating the players. It was really successful during the mid-game, that Fenrir support. And here the late game, this is kind of always when Fenrir support has the issues, and I will be the first one to tell you that I think there's a way to do it. I'm just not seeing it.
And at the same time, I think that Funballer hasn't had the best of transformations. A lot of time he's holding it until very late into these team fights. He's not using that extra Batz ult or that extra even Fenrir ult. If Scary D gets out with half health and has used his beads and uses Waxing Moon, why don't we just see the transformation in the Fenrir and then they run it back? Just do it again, because you have the option of having both of those characters. I will say that Lawbster on this Chiron has had incredible cleanses basically all game long. I mean, the one time the Trifecta's pushing up near the duo lane tier 1 tower, they chased SK all the way off that Phoenix, and it looked like Neil was about to get a huge Stygian Torment. It was Lawbster who saved them.
I think this just comes from a little bit of discomfort from Funballer here on this Morrigan. I don't think he's quite used to playing it, so that's why we're kind of seeing these awkward transformations a little late, maybe jumping the gun a little too early. He had one Chang'e ultimate as well where he transformed into that. Didn't really get anything off of that either. I think in these next team fights, we really need to see him utilize that ult.
I'm gonna go against you here. I think that he looks comfortable on it. He just looks comfortable on it to his damage dealing role, and he's not opening his mind the way the best Morrigan players really do it. When I watch Zeros play Morrigan, right, he is the damage dealer from the middle lane, but then late game he's turning into Terra to control, because that's what the squad needs. We're seeing Funball play Morrigan in the carry role, and that's all he's doing. He's not bringing out the Batz. He's not doing, and that's kind of what the Morrigan needs to be doing if you really want my money on it. So as far as his job as a damage dealer, yeah, you're doing it, but you need to be able to provide a little bit more.
Exactly, and hopefully he's able to do that. SK's played well for the most part. They just need to learn how to break these bases.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Something coming. Are we able to get back to the game? Is that what I just heard? Okay, we're going to be talking to the commentators real quick. Hinduman and Taco, take us away.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Now, listen, we've got an issue. It's not the greatest situation in the world, herp derp, but what we're going to do is try and bring you as much action as we can. So what we're going to have to end up doing at this moment in time is we're going to follow this game still. The guys are still playing. I'm not going to have game sound. It's going to be me and Taco giving you everything we can from this player point of view. We're looking at Lawbster's cam is what the plan's going to be, hopefully, to have a look and see how this game's going as they continue playing this one out. I want to apologize again. This is not the best case scenario, but it's better than us just saying, well, this team won and you don't get to see it. So here's a little look at the game right now. And this is going to be the truest form of casting you've ever seen, because we get to see it as if Lawbster himself was streaming. You can find him streaming, by the way, on Twitch if you want to check him out there. But look at what has happened. Lawbster is on the defense with SK Gaming, and Trifecta have managed to take down 2 Phoenixes. I didn't realize this was going to be the state of it, but, well, at least we get the game in play by the looks of it here. It's going to go down. Trifecta end up winning the game. I didn't realize it was that close either.
I did not realize it had already escalated that heavily. I really thought that it was going to be a little bit more back and forth action, but I think after that initial push out of Halfdevil around that top left mid Harpies choke point, it just seemed like the entire game spun back into Trifecta's favor. And for a whole 35-40 minutes, SK had Trifecta on the run, but they just could not close it out.
I want to apologize again for this technical issue, though. This is not stopping the integrity of the tournament. However, these players did get to play throughout, and it didn't affect their play. I just want to make sure that is a note. It won't affect that. That's the main thing. But 1-0 to Trifecta now. Disappointing performance in terms of the spectator. However, a good performance from Trifecta, though, the fact that they do find that 1-0 victory in a game that they were down considerably for multiple times.
That's where the real frustration has to take place, though, for SK, because they were just so close yet again, and it just feels like fall split, summer split, spring split all over again, where they're right there on the cusp of victory, and they just can't finalize their closeout.
The nosebleed section. That's what I kind of call it. You get up the mountain, and you're like, oh, look how high we are. Then you get a nosebleed, and you fall down the mountain.
It was just the lack of the front line. After X amount of time, around that 35 minutes threshold is where things start to get too complicated, I think, without a true frontlining member. And Neil was able to take up that mantle. Chang'e, although Scary D struggled throughout this match, I think in the end, he was still a little bit more relevant than that Fenrir.
Well, after the end of game 1 and those unfortunate circumstances, let's get it to the desk to break down a little bit more and get ready for a game 2 that hopefully will have less or no issues.
again, much apologies for that. But I think the most important thing to take home here is that the integrity of the game wasn't really dismantled, just the broadcast. So, oh well, SK wind up on the losing side. But again, the bigger point here is how big of a fight they put up. I can't say it enough. 1-29 during the regular season, and here they are pretty much going toe-to-toe with Trifecta.
Trifecta still has a lot of work to do. That's my takeaway from this. I mean, yes, SK put up a pretty good fight. Faeles had a very good game on the Hun Batz. He played well on that selection through the first 20-something minutes.
Yep.
And then the later stages, he had trouble finding his right spots in these team fights. It felt like Sam had a great game on this Nemesis. He hits double digits in kills as well. He was consistently putting pressure onto Lawbster and onto Funballer and doing a really good job at diving that backline.
For me, again, I said it right before, right when we came out from the break, that this was more of a story about the shortcomings of each team rather than overperformance or a good headline. And sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. And as I look at this, I think the biggest issue here for SK Gaming was shot calling and target identification. Again, J-Mac, you brought up the fact that they targeted Scary D in the late game, and we saw a lot of that. SK just couldn't find the right person to hit.
I mean, Scary D was one of the prime targets for that Ragnarok ultimate, as well as NeiruMah on the Cerberus. They kept constantly pulling those two people in, and while early 15-20 minutes in when those tanks aren't full build and you can kill them in a couple of autos and a few abilities is a great idea, once they hit late game, it's so difficult to really kill them.
This is the problem that SK has had, is that they come in with occasionally they'll have the good idea that'll work out and everything's going great, and then they just have an inability to adjust. They've won a decent amount of single games during the regular season. They won 1-29 in total sets, but during the season itself, they had game threes, but overall, it was just because they would get in there, they would start doing things well, and then one thing, the enemy team would adjust, and it would just be over from that point. SK just has an inability to adjust to what their opposition is throwing at them.
Leadership. That's what that says to me. I say target prioritization. You say lack of adjustment. Both of those fall under leadership, shot calling, coaching, whatever you want to call it. It's definitely a problem from the top down. They're not funneled in the right direction, and that's the big problem for SK Gaming. You look at them, and you look at the veterans here, and it's just not enough. You need that outside voice, and they just don't have it. And I really feel like SK are hurting. Sanjo is just not helping them out as much as they need.
I mean, this is a team full of veterans. They should know that whatever the fourth time you pick up the tank with Fenrir ultimate underneath the Phoenix doesn't work, that we should switch it and not just do it a fifth.
I do agree. At the same time, Space Station Gaming has struggled for a long time, and they've had just as much veteranship on that team, and I see very similar situations. I think SK is the exaggerated version. They are much worse than SSG. I'm not saying they're not, but basically what it comes down to is I think that at this point where we're at, veteran, how long you've been playing only does so much. I truly believe that this is a league that you need a strong coach to survive.
Maybe. I think teams have gone through, I mean, Energy hasn't had a coach that's consistent with them. I mean, Ro has done good work for them during this year, but I mean, they won 2 world championships with Zero's coming along so he could put a lampshade on his head. You know what I mean? I mean, Energy is just, maybe they're the exception to the rule, but I just don't think that you should be able to make in-game adjustments. The coach can't talk to you during the middle of the game. You have to be able to see what's happening to you on the actual battleground and be able to adjust on the fly. And if you can't, you won't win many sets, maybe 1 out of 30.